You can bullshit the ego, but you can never bullshit the soul. When you believe you don't know nothing, you take control away from the ego.
How do I start to see this in my everyday world, and what would be the first step?
So I believe God talks to us through intuition. The important thing is to have the courage to listen. And trust me, when you do listen, miracles happen. Your life becomes about being uncomfortable. A ship is built to be out in the middle of the sea where the waves are, not in the harbor where it's safe. It's the same with us.
Welcome back to Live Into Your Brilliance, the place where we dismantle illusions and wake ourselves up to the truth and brilliance that's already here. Today's guest is Danny Diliberto, whose life changed the moment he followed a quiet and powerful urge to provide a bowl of soup to an angry, homeless man. That simple act sparked Ladles of Love, a movement that now feeds thousands of people in South Africa every week. Except in this episode, Danny doesn't just talk about service, he shares the inner transformation that made it all possible. And what you're going to learn is how to spot the difference between ego and soul, why you should start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and how acting from intuition, even without a plan, can transform your life. This episode is warm, it's nourishing, and it is straight from the soul's kitchen. We began, as always, by asking Danny to share with us what is the biggest thing that he has seen on this remarkable path that he has been walking.
I've had a lot of aha moments in my life. You know, those aha moments where something clicks and you start looking at life differently. But I think one of my biggest and most powerful was when I realized that I know nothing. That was profound for me because it got rid of all arrogance. It makes you more humble. And it took a lot of pressure off my shoulders that I didn't need to prove what I believed was right for me to anyone. And that I think at the time I was reading a book called The 5 Levels of Attachment. And it's a book about how attached we become to our beliefs and our thoughts. And he talks about, I think he starts from level 1 where you have zero attachment. And he uses wonderful examples like you'll have a person who enjoys watching soccer and you'll go and watch a soccer game and you'll just enjoy the game. He doesn't go to see who wins, who loses. He just loves the game. He loves the energy in the stadium. And he doesn't matter who wins, and he just has a great time. And then you go, and then the attachment starts growing until you get to level 5, where you've got this like these fanatics. They travel where the team goes. If their team loses, they're depressed. They have fights with the other team, the other fans, and you hear these stories. And it's how attached do you become to your beliefs? And he was also using another wonderful example, and I think it was at that moment that I realized that I know nothing. And he was he uses an example of how, for example, a person who's a vegan, who eats vegan food, and how attached they become to that. And they say, I am a vegan, and how dare you eat meat? And they judge you for eating meat and all this stuff. And I realized that at that point, all you need to do is change one word in that sentence from I am vegan to I eat vegan. And you're no longer a vegan. You remain a human being. And I don't know, all that at that moment, like just everything, I thought, what is right? What is wrong? And having non-attachment to, and believing that you know nothing, it opens you up. It opens you up to more learning. It allows someone to have a conversation with you that, you know, so they might talk something and it doesn't resonate with you, or it might be a way that you used to live life that didn't work for you, and it works, and you've changed that, but they're having that conversation. You want to say to them, like, just change your way, but you don't. You allow the person to be, and you can have a conversation, and also it just keeps you open to learning, because we really do know nothing. I mean, what is right and what is wrong? You know, if I can look at something and I can say, wow, I can look at this cup here. I don't know if you can see it, and I can say, wow, this is a beautiful cup. And you'll look at me and go, God, no, that's an ugly cup. I mean, it's plain and simple, and who's right? Who's wrong? And having that, it really took a lot of pressure off my shoulders. I don't know. It was weird, that I know nothing. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I just know that what works for me at this moment is how I'm going to choose to live my life. And I also know that it'll probably change. I've watched my life of personal growth, and I've seen how at one moment a thought resonates with you, and you live your life by this, and then a year might go by or 2 years go by, and you're going, it's not feeling right anymore, and it's, don't like that. And then you change your way of thinking, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just allows you to live life differently. And as long as your soul is talking to you, that's all that's important. So that's been my biggest aha moment in my life. And I've shared it with a lot of people before, and you can see when they look at me, they're like, what do you mean? Like, are you stupid? They're thinking like, because I think also the ego says, oh, how much knowledge you have and how clever are you? And, the more you know, the better you are. And so you'll talk to them, and then especially someone who's passionate about learning, and they look at you like, what do you mean you know nothing? Well, I know nothing. Really know nothing.
Danny, how long ago was it that you had this insight, would you say?
Must be, I don't know. It was pre-COVID, so a good 8 years ago, 6 to 8 years ago. And it's been wonderful. I strongly recommend it.
Yeah, well, like I can feel it, so I can feel it coming like through the screen. And the reason why I'm curious about when it is like, so about 8 years ago, so that would have been about 2017. So interestingly, that's after you had already started Ladles of Love. So what I'm really interested in is what do you notice was the difference between, the Danny before this insight and after? Is because you were already up to amazing things in the world. So I'm curious about that.
I think the difference was that it opened me up and it freed me. So that I became flexible. I don't need to prove to you, this is what works for me. Is it right? I can't tell you, but for me, it's right. Right now, it's right. So, and I didn't have to try and prove. And if the way you thought was different to the way I thought, I was able to say, good for you. It's awesome. Because I mean, we see it. We like, look at this 5 levels of attachment. Let's look at people that are so fanatical about their religion. I mean, the stories of people blowing themselves up in the middle of a marketplace because they've spoken against Allah, or the stories of Orthodox Jews, and you don't do something. If you do, they'll stone you in the street of Israel somewhere there. I've heard these stories. That fanaticism on your belief of what's right. It breaks that. So it allows people to it would allow people to just live together. You live your life how you want to. If it works for you, fantastic, live it. And let's have conversation about it. Let's debate about it. Now I've got a friend, and she's very religious. She's all Jesus. Like, she's all Jesus, and I'm totally not religious. I don't do religion at all. For me, Jesus was an enlightened human being, and he was put on the cross because people were scared of him. That people were so scared of the way he thought. He was so conscious. He was so enlightened that people couldn't deal with him. They just couldn't deal with him. He went straight for their ego, and the ego was, and you see, when you believe you don't know nothing, you take control away from the ego. Straight away. The ego has no grip on you whatsoever. And that was the difference. So, like, this friend of mine, we can have a conversation, and I can see I rattle her brain, and I go, and Sham, we saying the same things. We're just saying, like, she talks about God, and I say, what is God to you? What is God? And and she's like, oh, and she's waiting for Jesus to come, and I'm going, like, where's he going to come? Like, and where's heaven and where's hell? Where's heaven and where's hell? For me, heaven and hell is in here. How you live your life. Do you live your life in bliss, or do you live your life in chaos? It's up to you. You create your heaven and your hell here. And it's like, it's rattling her brain, rattling. But we can have this conversation, and I just don't do religion. I'm not saying she's wrong. It's just, hey, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, when you talk Jesus was a human being. He wasn't God. We all God. For me, we all God. What makes your heart beat? Have you ever thought about what makes your heart beat? I mean, how miraculous is that? It's not plugged into anything. You don't need to recharge it. It frickin' beats on its own. Fuck.
Divine engineering.
There we go. And you don't know when it's going to stop. You have no idea. Who decides when it's going to stop? Like, that for me is God. So, yeah.
And Danny, two things came up for me when you were saying that, because I love, like, when you put down what you just put down, like, it really resonated with me, because I think this concept of reveling, I would use the word reveling in the knowledge that you know nothing. It doesn't, and I think, like you said, it doesn't mean that you don't go and learn or read books or be curious. It actually makes you more curious.
Exactly.
But you're not attached to your ego around what it is you've accumulated or the insight you've had. But the one thing I was curious about is, where does fear and judgment now sit with you? Because I would imagine that when you are attached to, like, a notion of being a fanatical Real Madrid fan, or, you kind of tear your clothes asunder when they lose and what have you. Like, is there a judgment of self and a judgment of others that creeps in, and is a lot of that ego fueled by fear in your mind? And then the flip side of that is, as a result of letting all of that go, how does that change your relationship with others?
Well, one thing I've come to learn, I believe we have ego in us. Like, if let me give you an analogy. Imagine you walk into a dark room, pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of you. Okay. If I turn on the light, what happens?
Your hand's right there.
The darkness disappears.
Right.
For me, darkness is ego. Light is consciousness. You put light onto ego. You put consciousness onto ego. They are one. They are not separate. In that room is both light and dark, but you can only have one on at a time. So the minute you put consciousness onto ego, you kill it. So, but it's there. It's always there. So when the judgment comes up, and it will, because the ego wants to master you, your journey has to be to not be the master, to be the master of your ego. That for me is what my journey's been. Like, I cannot have the ego master my life. I will bring out the ego when I want it. It's like, dude, Mr. Ego, let's call him Charlie. Charlie, you chill. You stay right there. If I need you, I'll call you. You know? And so when you, so like you said, so like when you hear these stories or you see these fans behaving like with stupidity, and I don't say that as a judgment, it's a word, stupidity. You're behaving stupidly. It's crazy. Your team lost. Now you want to go and smash the other people and you want to go and break and riot the streets. Sorry, that's not clever. It's stupid. So you watch this and I don't, you can, and that's where awareness is very powerful, self-awareness. For me, constantly monitoring the emotions, the thoughts, the self-talk, how you behaving is critical. And I've really put that into practice. And as the years go by, you just get better and better and better at it. It's like the more you practice, the better you become at anything. So I'm constantly aware, constantly monitoring, watching thoughts. How do I talk? What's going on inside here? So when you see something like that and you see a person behaving like that, you go and you can feel the judgment coming, but you don't react out of it, or we don't like say, oh fuck, look at that person, they're so stupid, and look, how can they do this? And because at the end of the day, I know that they don't know what they're doing. For them, that's how you behave. And at the end of the day, really, what makes it right, what makes it wrong, for them, that's their life. They don't know that actually, if you detach yourself, you won't behave like that. So you look at that and you go, shit, I actually feel sadness, because I know that if they just change their way of thinking, their mindset, their life will change. But until they do that, so that's how I deal with you just constantly monitoring and watching. Yeah.
What do you think is what do you think is the key to letting go? And maybe I would love for you to, again, I'm really interested in going back into also your personal journey, and because I'm imagining in the context of Ladles of Love and the work that you do, you get to see lots of different attachments that people have, that you have had maybe over time and have let go of. So I don't know if there's a way that you can kind of take us into that world to show us like where this insight comes to life, the opportunity to know nothing and the opportunity to let go of what you think you know in order to open yourself up to possibility.
Letting go, sure, it's I'm not going to lie, it's actually, it's been my journey, but surrendering is huge, and a journey I'm on at the moment, because Ladles of Love last year took me to a space, quite a dark space, last year. And I think that's how life works. It takes you to a point where you either crack and change, or you just continue going down that rabbit hole. And it took me to a point where I thought, no, I need to, I was living too much in the future. I needed to come back and say, now focus on the present and just accept. So it's never easy. when you surrender, when you have to let go, it's more the emotion that you've got to deal with, because I think, or I feel, um, when it, yeah, because it's not, the knowledge, the wisdom is there. It's in you, the wisdom. So that if you have to let go or drop a judgment, whatever it is, let go of a person, it's difficult, but it's the emotion that you've got to be aware of and not allow the emotion to take over your life. So deal with the emotion, go into it, know that it's not who you are, because love flows, love truly flows. Love is, define love. Define love. You can't put words to love. You just can't. Once you put words to love, you put it into a cage. It's like putting a beautiful bird in a cage. When you see a bird out there flying, it's beautiful. When you see it in the cage, it's beautiful, but it's not the same. And so the wisdom's there, and it's just saying and knowing that, yes, and it's an emotion, and not having judgment on how you feel. And then and looking at it and saying, there's that feeling, and where's that feeling coming from? Is it a fear of being alone? Is it a fear of rejection? What's creating that feeling? Is it a fear of validation, lack of validation? I need validation. I need this person to fill this hole that's in me. So I'd rather have this chaos in my life because it's filling this hole that's within me that I don't know how to fill, for example. So it's asking yourself, where is it coming from? And then working on that. And, it's also, for me, it's about inner peace. How important is inner peace to you? And that's a big question, because where do I start? So for me, my journey with inner peace began also, I took my nephew to the aquarium, I don't know, 10 years ago, must have been. And we walking through the Cape Town aquarium, and he's running through, and we walk into the one room, and it's pitch black. It's this dark room. It's got a blue light at the base, and the one wall is the tank. The fish tank or whatever, these huge tanks. Now it's a double volume. It's like, it's high. It's maybe 4 or 5 meters high. And there's a silence in this room that, you can sort of hear the bubbles going. There's a dim light coming out of the tank, and there's the fish flowing. There's a fish flowing through the, and you're watching and all this stuff. So I'm sitting and watching, and there's the seaweed in this tank, right? And it's as high as, it's 5 meters high, the seaweed. And I'm watching the seaweed, and it's just like, it's dancing like this. And I don't know, I walk up to the tank, and something's drawing me to the seaweed. And I'm looking, and I look at the top, and I look at the top of the tank, and you can see the top of the water. And I'm just looking, and I'm thinking, while I'm looking at the top of the water, I'm thinking, even the water right now is still, so the seaweed's doing this. But if the water's chaos, the seaweed's still just there's gonna be that stillness at the bottom of the tank. It's going to be calm. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be non-resistant. There will be movement, but it flows. And I thought, shit, if I could paint a picture of inner peace, that would be it. I would paint that picture. And that became almost like my vision of inner peace, that doesn't matter what's going on around you, in here, it's quiet. There's that quietness. So there's this chaos, and there's the emotions going, and there's that, and this one, and you're hearing this bad news, and this is, and this, and that. But here you're going, it's calm. So you get those people that are excessively happy, and those people that are excessively sad. So you get these huge waves in these people. And I said, no, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be this. That's going to be so when I'm happy, but I don't need to blow it out there and tell everyone how happy I'm happy. And when I'm sad, I'm going to be sad, but I'll be down here. I'm not going to be down there. There's just going to be this calmness. So the emotion. So that's when you put all that into play and you're aware of your thoughts and all that, then it allows you to just, everything is as it's meant to be.
I love that.
So everything is as it's meant to be. Keeps you calm because it's acceptance. You can't change the situation. This is the way it is. So I can't change it. And people used to get upset with me. But what do you mean this is, well, you've got to do something. What do you want me to do about it? What am I going to do? What am I going to do that's going to change it? Me putting my anger into it is only going to feed it more. So no, it is what it is. If someone's meant to be in your life, they'll be in your life. If they're not, you have no control of that. You have no say who's in your life and who's not in your life. You know, we have no say. We are never in control. So when you accept all that, life starts flowing more, and you can then watch it. It makes it difficult because, especially, I do feel sadness when I see what's going on in the world. For example, when you see the hate, when I see the poverty, when I go into the townships, because I know that is a result of stupidity. We are human beings that are so brilliant. We are brilliant. But we have that chaos, for example. We have people killing each other or, and you think, so, and I know it's that people don't know what they're doing. They think that's how life is. So that's it. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of time I just have to, like, I've made a big effort. I listen to the news as little as possible. I do not read the newspaper. I don't read. If I'm going to read anything, it's got to feed my soul. So I try and also it's difficult. You try and steer away from the conversations where people, and have you seen what the government and this and what are they doing? And I'm thinking, and I just choose, for me, my focus is how can I live my life brilliantly? And whoever comes into my space, I must be a positive in their life. I'm not going to drain. I'm not going to take from them. I'm going to give them. How can I do that? All the shit that's going on in all this, you got to let that go.
Well, Danny, I'm going to take you back to that moment in 2014. So, there you are, a busy restaurateur in a vibey city. I would imagine the competition is stiff. To have a competition, to have a restaurant in Cape Town and make it work. And I mean, it's I think Condé Nast just voted it like the best food destination in the world or something. I mean, it's insane. And so you've got all of that, and at that time, I would imagine a whole sense of judgment, attachments, ego, everything that kind of ships with trying to forge your way in the world. And then you have this moment where you're like, that angry guy needs a bowl of soup. Like, take us there and what do you think? I mean, like, to your point, like, things happen for a reason. The angry guy shouting at the world who suddenly becomes calm when you give him a bowl of soup. Like, what happened there? And then what did you see from that moment?
So I remember I noticed the guy, okay, and I was very intimidated because I didn't know much about homelessness, and you're not sure if I walk up to the guy, is he going to attack me? There's a sense of fear, but the calling, the calling to give him this bowl of soup was godly. It was like, no, Danny, you're going to go and give that bowl of soup. Like, when you get that, you're scared to do it, but you've got to do it. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. And I just knew I had to walk up to that guy and give him a bowl of soup. I had no idea why. And so I did. And when I walked up to him, he just calmed. He just, like you said, he just like looked at me, and he came back from that crazy world. Because I mean, a guy like that, he's gripped by ego. He's talking to himself. He's angry at the world. He's lost. He's in like that dark room where you can't see your hand in front of you. But I managed that interaction brought him back for a second. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you want a bowl of soup?" And he said, "Yes, please." And I gave him the soup and he said, "Thank you." And I walked away and he gone again. And I just knew what I had to do at that moment. I called them godly conversations. Like I said, I'm not religious, and I'm using the word God because we all know that word. I believe we are not separate from this. We believe we are. Well, we're not separate from this. We're part of this cosmic chaos. Have you ever thought, when the sperm hits the ovary, that infinitesimal second, like, I don't know what happens. Like, what happens? That moment, there's nothing. Now, all of a sudden, a body's being created, and a body with life that has energy in it. So what is it? Does the sperm suck this energy into the woman's ovary and start creating this body? Like, it's for me, it's fascinating. It's like miraculous. It's godly. So how can we be separate? How can we be separate from this godly force, divine? I can't. I'm sorry. To me, it doesn't resonate. I mean, fuck. So I believe God talks to us through actions, through intuition, and the important thing is to have the courage to listen. That's the important thing. And trust me, when you do listen, miracles happen.
I wonder which comes first, letting go of your knowing. Because they seem like they're symbiotic, like they do this dance. We have to let go of the idea that we know the way things should be, the way things are, and surrender then to that intuitive wisdom which is within each of us. And that's what I hear. Like even that bowl of soup story is like the perfect metaphor for everything, because it struck me that you in that moment felt the superficial separateness, between you and this homeless person. It's not that you didn't experience it. That's what struck me, at least, is you felt intimidated. There's some fear.
Yeah.
There's those moments, and there's a calling.
Mm.
And I guess in those moments, there's the choice between, well, do I really know this to be true or not? Or what's available if I let go of that? Like, what would I do then? And the reason why I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because if I'm a listener listening to this, and the three of us, you have got the most receptive audience in myself and Billows here, because we're going, yes, brother. We are. I mean, I'm here with you. I'm going, yes, and like the seaweed, and I'm going, fucking hell. These are like the best, some of the best stories and metaphors for everything that we point at. And yet, I know there's someone listening that's going, Jesus, guys, like, you are so far off the reservation, and I feel so far away from where you are. Like, meet me where I'm at. How do I start to see this in my everyday world, and what would be the first step? And so I'd love to bring you to that point where, if you are if there's where you'd say, if I was to bring this back and how you see it so simply, to go, whether or not you buy into all of this, if you want to get curious about this is where it lives in everyday life. This is where I see people stepping into this in an everyday way that is an opportunity to explore rather than something you necessarily even have to believe in first. It's like, it's almost the space of what if. So I'd love if you can, I don't know if that makes sense, but if you're able to kind of bring it back
Yeah.
down to that, to be able to go, this is really how tangible it can be in an everyday way.
There's a few things I want to say. The first one is I've got a quote. I think it's a Danny quote because I didn't read it. I think I made this up. And it goes like this. It says, you can bullshit the ego, but you can never bullshit the soul. What does that mean? Like at that moment, this is a simple example. When I had this moment that I had to go and serve this bowl of food. So look at that. There's this knowing that I've got to go and give this soup. But there's this intimidation, ego, that says, Dan, you need to protect yourself, stay here. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. It's the fear of the unknown. So no, leave that one. But your soul's saying, no, Danny, you need to go and give that bowl of soup because something's going to happen when you do. You don't know that, but that's what your soul is saying to you, go. But your ego is saying, no, you don't need to. It's cool. Go and find another homeless guy. I had a choice at that moment. And that's where it's important to decide, are you listening to the ego or are you listening to the soul? And the thing is, we are so fearful of the truth because the truth of the soul is always the difficult one. The ego one's the easy one. It'll convince you. It's like a smoker, a guy who wants to give up smoking. He knows, okay, I'm going to give up smoking. And then like 2 days later, he goes, you know what? I've been so good for the last 2 days. Let me just have a quick drag. But he knows if he does that, he's going to start again. But his ego convinces him that just have a drag. You're in control. So just have a drag. And the soul's going, no, don't do that. Fight this. Be strong. The uncomfortable one. And that's what's so important. And so when someone, like, yes, I talk to a lot of people and I share this wisdom. I don't share what I've read. I share what has changed my life through my reading. Okay. So, I have knowledge is the reading. Wisdom is the living. So knowledge becomes wisdom when it sinks, when you choose to truly live it. So you can share with someone and you can talk this talk and you can feel like this, they're looking at you and they're going, no, I don't know. No, what do you mean? No. And you can see, and they're gone. They'll find a way to end conversation quickly and never talk to you again. Because they don't have the courage. And I'm not saying that in a judgmental way. Courage, I love this quote. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the ability to continue walking in the presence of fear. When you realize that, then you say, okay, I've got to continue walking. Fuck, I'm petrified, but I'm going to do it. And that's so it's about having courage. That's all it is. It's about having courage and having the courage to do what your soul's telling you, because your soul is your truth. And the truth is always scary because the ego don't like the truth. The ego does not like the truth. And the ego wants to be the master of you. Remember that. The ego wants to be your master. You don't want that. So, fuck. Okay, Mr. Ego, I ain't going to listen to you. I've got the balls to do this. And when I had that, and again, then when I realized, shit, I've got to start a soup kitchen, I had a choice. I didn't have to start it. Like, oh, fuck, now I've got to start it. And I moved on it, like, immediately. The next week, started serving a proper soup kitchen. Didn't ask questions. I didn't ask people's opinions. There was this, Danny, you start a soup kitchen. This is your calling, dude. And don't worry. How are you going to do it? Don't worry about that. Just start serving. And you've got to have the courage to listen to that. I mess with my team because my team, I've got a business coach and he says, but Danny, what's your vision? And I don't know what my vision is. I know my North Star, but I don't know. He says, where's Ladles going to be in 5 years' time? I say, I don't know where it's going to be in a week's time. And it rattles him because I don't, because wherever Ladles is today, I didn't do it. It worked through me. I didn't wake up in 2020, in January 2020, and say, we're going to be an organization that raises 1 million rand. But you know what? This year, I'm going to raise 24 million rand. We grew from an organization that raised 1 million rand to an organization that raised 24 million rand. I had no idea of that. I was prodding along serving soup kitchens, because that's what, and then I had another powerful godly conversation. Like, Danny, get food out beyond the city borders. That's your journey now. And I thought, fuck, it was such a strong message that I had to listen to. And I could have, how am I going to do it? Where am I going to get the money? I had no idea how I was going to do it. I had no idea where I was going to get the money. But the calling was so strong that, my hair stand on edge. You know what? I just got out of my way. And I listened. and when people don't have that courage, they don't listen. There's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? We've got to be careful. Everything is just words. But you've got to be careful where the word's coming from. Like, I've seen a lot of spiritual teachers that have way too much ego because they think they're better than you, because they're on this higher level. Like, no, you're just in a different place, dude. You're just more, you've understood it more. You've had the blessing of being enlightened and seeing life differently, but you're not better than me. When someone is in that space, it doesn't mean I'm better because I'm more conscious. I'm better than them. I'm not. I'm living my life this way here. So I'm in Johannesburg and you're in Cape Town. That's it. We're on the same. We're just living our lives differently. It doesn't make me better. So you've got to give the person space and not judge it and just try and help them. I always just tell people, just have the courage. Just break through that wall of fear and see where life takes you.
I'll tell you what came up for me, Danny. I remember a story. There's a guy you may have come across him, you may not. He's called Michael Neal. He's been an amazing mentor for me. He's an author. He tells really good stories. And he told a story once, and he said, there was this guy, and he was out hiking, and he's a prolific hiker, kind of mountaineer. And one day he's up hiking a mountain, and he thinks he's going to get to the top, but he gets his timing wrong, so it gets dark, and then he slips, and he falls down a crevice, and he's falling to his death. And then he gets snagged on like some sort of a branch or an outcrop, and it's just holding him up by his backpack. And so he's dangling there in the dark. And this guy is not religious in the slightest. But desperate times call for desperate measures. So in that moment, he looks up to the skies and he goes, "Hey, I'm not sure if there's anyone up there, but if there is, now would be a really good time to show yourself." And then he hears this voice, and the voice says, "Just like kick off the straps of your backpack and let yourself fall." And the guy goes quiet. And then he looks back up to the sky and he says, "Is there anyone else up there?" And the next day, or a couple of days later, this guy is found. But when the light shines, because he doesn't let go, and he's found, and he's not let go, and he realizes he's only 2 or 3 feet from the ground. And Michael told us that story because he said, if you've never experienced the hand of God, it's very difficult to make the choice that's been offered. And so I'm curious for you, what is the precursor to courage, and what is it that, because you said you're not religious. And so to me, there is a precursor to courage, which is it's the courage to follow something. And so my question to you is, what is it that you have a deep faith in that is the source, therefore, of your courage, which allows you to walk not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of fear?
Sure. Well, I think it's been experience, ladles, living ladles. I mean, pre-ladles, I wouldn't have had the courage that I have today. And I think what ladles has taught me is that you need to become comfortable in the discomfort. There's your precursor. If you're constantly uncomfortable, then you're good. Then you're growing. Then you're changing. And that's your fuel. You've got to become, because one thing is constant, is change. We are changing every second. Our body is aging every second. Every second there's a change in us. So you need to become comfortable in your discomfort. That needs to be and trust me, I still struggle. There's days I question and I'm like saying, shit, should I, shouldn't I? And there's days I'm watching, I'm getting in my way, Fear is, wow, fear is powerful. And it's just becoming aware of that fear and saying, okay, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to let it beat you? Or are you going to keep going? And then I start saying, for me, my big one is, as long as I'm still putting one foot in front of the other, I'm moving forward. And that's all I can do. As long as there's still blood flowing through ladles, we gain. And I'll tell you, I mean, like this month has been challenging. We haven't raised the money that we've needed. Fighting not to pull out of reserves. And I have to work hard on not letting the fear grip me, and just constantly applying awareness to it. Like, Danny, the fears, and questioning, Danny, are you allowing the fear to determine your decision? Are you, it's all these questions. And I mean, the other day I felt beaten. I was like, by the end of the day, I was like, fuck, I'm done. And I didn't do anything with it. I was beaten and I accepted it. I knew tomorrow I'd get up and start again. I just knew that. That was, I was just beaten for the day. And that's okay. So it's about just being freaking uncomfortable, and your life becomes about being uncomfortable. A ship is built to be out in the middle of the sea where the waves are, not in the harbor where it's safe. It's the same with us. So for me, that's my precursor. It's just being uncomfortable. Because for me, change was like, whoa. Like I was petrified of change. Like you've got to keep doing it this way, and like you 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 keep going that way. Like you figure out a way. No, I've got to keep it because I don't want to make change because I'm happy with it. It's worked before. It's not really working now, but you know what? I'm comfortable with it. Let's try and mold it so that we can try and make it work. And the more you mold it, the less it starts working. And you're going, oh, now, I mean, and Ladles changed so dramatically. When COVID hit, the exponential growth was, I can't even begin. And I had no idea what I was doing. Like, no idea. I come from a restaurant. What do I know about running now? All the next thing, I've got a warehouse and we're distributing 50 tons of food. Like, I had no idea. Like people would ask me, like, what's going to happen when this outlet? I don't know. So just don't ask me. I'm right now. I'm here. I'm doing now because that was my guidance. I'm just staying here now. And we've got to be in the present moment. I think that's a precursor as well. You've got to stay here now because the future, and I'm not saying don't strategize, don't don't have a vision. There's only one place to be. When you do that, it's cool. You sit in a 2-hour strategy. This is what we want to do. This is what we want. Cool. You come straight back to the present moment when it's finished. And that's where you stay. In the present moment, because that's the past is gone. Can't change it. There's no point. I always tell people, the people that feel anxious or depressed, and I say to them, okay, the next time you're feeling anxious, I want you to do this test. I want you to stop and ask yourself where you are. And I say, the further you are into the future, the more anxious you are. So bring yourself back. Or if you're depressed, ask yourself, how into the past are you? Just stop and ask yourself, where are you this moment? Like, why are you feeling this anxiety? And I'll guarantee you, because they've created scenarios that haven't happened yet in their head. And it's about, you know what? I know. I know Ladles is about touching people's lives. How the hell am I going to do it? I have no friggin' idea, because that's where divine guidance comes in. And I've just got to have the courage to listen to it. Is it making me rich financially? No. Am I touching people's lives? Hell yes. I mean, Bilos, even when you came to the soup, you were touched. Ladles touched your life.
100%. 100%. I felt it, and I'm also, I have no idea where it's leading or what will happen, but I know that you're on this episode, and I know that we're very focused on supporting you in whatever way, and I don't know what that means, but it's going to happen, and I have deep faith that it will happen.
Awesome. Thank you. I need to hear that today. See how life talks to you.
Yeah.
So the precursor is definitely stay in the present moment and be uncomfortable. Be comfortable in your discomfort. That's all you have. And know that you are never in control. Even when you think you're in control, you are not in control, because anything can change in a split second.
Yeah. I hope the listener heard what you said, I think, right at the outset, because it's something that deeply resonated with me when you said it. was when you realize you know nothing, there's a great deal of freedom and lightness that ships with that. And I think that is the I'm not going to say the payoff, but it's kind of like that delightful feeling of when you do operate from that place, when you do, you know, uh, when you are comfortable being uncomfortable, and you are able to act in the presence of fear, but you're doing it from that place where you're like, I don't have to have the answers. I don't have to control this. I just have to I'm allowing the universe to meet me at my point of action.
Beautiful.
And as a result of that, uh, I feel light. I feel, even when stuff is dark, like, you saying you don't know how Ladles is going to meet its budgetary requirements this month. It's been a tough month, and but when you when you don't have to have the answers to that problem, and you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, it's amazing what transpires. And there's a lightness and and room to breathe, even in the heaviest of situations.
And that's so important, because the ability, what did you say? The ability to breathe, or the space to breathe.
Yeah.
That's what's important, because you need to remain inspired. And you can't be inspired if you're constantly in the future worrying, like, where am I going to get? Or constantly in the past being upset about maybe how you behaved, or what you should have done, or what you could have done. If you stay here now and just let it be, you give yourself space to breathe, and you remain inspired.
Amazing. Danny, listen, this has been an absolute pleasure. I have a strong feeling that this won't be the last episode we do with you. We will. You have two big Ladles fans here, and my hope is that when Al and I are in Cape Town together, sort of same time next year, we'll do a live session with you. But what transpires in the interim, I have no idea, but I have a strong sense that something will, and we'll build some momentum. But I just want to say thank you so much for your wisdom, your story, your courage, the practical guidance that you've put out there for the listener. I think it's inspiring, and the work that you're doing is just phenomenal and remarkable. Before we get into our final little fun bit that we do at the end of every episode, if people want to support Ladles, if they're traveling out to South Africa, they want to come and volunteer, they want to come and work in the warehouse, or they want to come and do some work at Roland Street, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way? Are you on Instagram? And then how can they support you financially? I mean, you have to, you need to raise 1.5 million rand a month, and that's growing as demand grows. So how do people give? And we want to put all of that stuff into the show notes as well.
Definitely go onto our website, ladlesoflove.org.za. Ladles spelled Ladles, ladlesoflove.org.za. To volunteer, they just click on get involved, click on individual, then it'll take you to our volunteer page, and there you can register. You can book your time slot to come volunteer at the kitchen. If you want to do other stuff, we've got corporate team builds that we do. Then the best would be to go through info at ladlesoflove.org.za. If you want to do like a team build or come to the warehouse, then I'd recommend tell us what you want, and Brenda will put you in touch with the right person within the office, and we'll sort something out.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you. And the donation as well through Ladles of Love. There's a donate button. Just click on that. You can pay through PayPal, PayFast. You can do a debit order. Recurring donations are so important to us. That's why I love Vicky's work. I mean, that they're going to be donating monthly is huge because, yeah, I mean, the need is there and we need money constantly. So, yeah, that's the best.
Awesome. And I'm also conscious, like we haven't kind of even dived into some of the depths of the amazing work you're doing, the composting side of the business and supporting urban farmers and purchasing all of their produce. Like there's so much more to dive into, but I think this was an amazing first episode with you. It was an amazing insight into what makes you tick and your come from. And I think your wisdom shone through, and I think it'll be picked up by a lot of listeners. So I'm really, really grateful.
Awesome. Thank you.
And in the tradition of Live Into Your Brilliance podcasts, we always ask our guests to give us their bumper sticker for life, where they are right now, what they've seen. What would your bumper sticker for life be if you could print one tomorrow?
Your mindset creates your life. You like
That's fun. I think there'll probably at some point, Danny, there's going to be a book of Danny quotes. You've dropped some gold today.
Yeah.
Your mindset creates your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. From my side, I just want to echo Billows's gratitude.
Thank you.
Like this is my first time to meet you. I know Billows, Billows has experienced you before, and the amazing work you do. I meant what I said earlier in the show. Like you can feel you as much as hear you, and and the feeling is so much more powerful in many ways than the words, and the words though are very useful for pointing in a direction. So thank you for making the time for coming on. Thank you for everything you're doing in the world, both in terms of an example of what it means to really, to my mind, the spirit of what we're all about at this show is to live into your brilliance. Brilliance is not something you got to create. It's right there. You got to live into it, and you are doing that in a big way, my friend. So thank you for all you do in the world. It's awesome.
And thanks for having me on your show, guys. You enjoy this because that's the space you're in. So it means you are living your brilliance as well, because if what I'm saying resonates with you and it touches your soul, then you also living life through God, I would say, as I believe we meant to. So stay on that conscious path and let's spread the love. I think this world needs it desperately. So keep doing
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Well, folks, that brings us to an end of another epic episode with an amazing guest. I think if I was to try and summarize what we've covered, and I was just jotting down some notes as we went through, and I think that book you mentioned, is it Don Miguel Ruiz, The 5 Attachments? I think it might be.
It's his son.
Is that his son? Yeah, it's a
son.
We'll
I can't remember the name.
Well.
It's his son. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. I think they've kind of kept it so that we.
Is it? Okay.
I think so. I think we'll put it in the show notes though. Anyway, but I think that what you've done today is shone a light on the ultimate attachment, and it's the attachment to the idea that we do know something about like where we're going and the way things need to be, and that's the ultimate attachment. Like there's loads of different flavors of that, but I think what you've done today for me at least is to shine light. That's the ultimate attachment, and that when we can let go of that attachment and then open ourselves up to, and we've had another guest on, Christy Halverson, who talked about following the tickles of our soul. And the thing that you said, the Danny quote that stood out was You know, you can bullshit the ego, but you can never bullshit the soul. And I think the opportunity for me and Billows and all of us is to really see what would be possible if we let go of the idea of knowing, even just for a moment. You know, as we leave the podcast, let go of that. And what is it that is the soul path? You know, and everyone's soul path is unique. And you know, when we talk about courage and what are we having faith in, like that's the word that struck me. Perhaps all we need to do is have faith in our own soul, and God lies in all of us, whatever that means. And it's a choice between easy now and hard later, or sometimes hard now and easy later. And when you said, you know, the ego is easy and the soul
Mm,
is hard, that's what I wrote down. I'm like,
mm,
ego is easy now, tough later.
mm.
Soul sometimes is hard now, but man, like it can be easy later, and it's all a game of practice. So for our listener, I hope that, you know, as you listen to this, like and feel Danny's words, and whatever it stirs up inside of you, then there it is. Like, can you let go of the idea that you need to know anything more than that, and just take it one step on your soul path?
Beautiful.
All right, my
Well said.
friends. Thank you, Danny. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Until we're with you next week, as always, you are brilliant. Go forth and live into your brilliance. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey, unraveling the innate brilliance within every human being. We hope today's episode has sparked new thoughts and inspired fresh perspectives. Remember, the power to shatter illusions and unleash your true potential lies within you. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite platform. If you'd like more insights and daily doses of inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram at @AlKennyCoaching. Or you can connect with myself and Mark on LinkedIn, where we will share articles and perspectives about unlocking your innate brilliance. Remember, you are capable of extraordinary things. Keep believing, keep exploring, and keep shining brightly. Take care and stay brilliant.